But I swear that I've started this podcast so many times. I feel like I was a podcaster in my past life. When I was getting ready to record this one, I saw an old one I recorded again in the hopes of resurrecting this idea that I had. I'll play the clip. I'll roll the clip right here. But it's so fascinating to see that I've actually been trying and trying and trying. I've been okay with starting over, whether at 25, whether at now 28, starting over, trying to do this thing. But I guess I always psych myself out. The reason that brings me to this mic today, this morning, it's like almost 8 a.m. and I have to go to work. But, when there's a calling and there's a need on your heart, you need to release it by acting on it. And so what brings me here today is I lost my friend recently, like less than 2 weeks ago. It was a sudden death, completely out of the blue. It wasn't one of those long illnesses a car accident is also quite scary and sudden, but at least you see, oh my gosh, that's the cause of it. Whereas with my friend now, she passed away from being briefly sick. So that has changed me forever, for life, because I really, really love her. And it's funny because when I started this podcast in 2020, I had started it with the aim to release what I was feeling. I think 2020 brought this energy out of all of us where we dove deeper into ourselves, realized some things about ourselves, and my output from that was to share it through a podcast, which I feel like did really well. I even, like, people, my friends around me would be like, oh, this is really good, which was really shocking because it's like, you hear my deep dark secrets. I always feel like when you record or like when you create anything and post it to the internet, you know that people will see it. You know your loved ones will most likely see it, but somehow always feel like you're posting into the void. And so when they said that, it, like, as much as it was like very vulnerable for me, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was so appreciative because they're like, no, you've got something here, and I'm like, oh, thanks, you know. And one of the people who said that, who was so supportive in me starting my podcast when I lost my father, is the person I've lost today, which is my friend Kelsey. Oh God, that is so hectic. So, she really supported the podcast. She used to listen religiously when I'd post. And afterwards, which was like 2021, I think, lockdown was not as hectic anymore. And my life had taken a turn. I'd found love in my old love again, and I was like optimistic about life and all of those things. And she'd asked me, and I'll never forget this, she'd asked me, why don't you do the podcast again? Like, you haven't released an episode in so long. And I was like, yeah, but I was sad then. And so I needed to release that podcast. And now I don't feel sad. And she was like, yeah, okay, then record how you feel, record happy stuff. And as much as in my mind, I was like, yeah, she's just being a supportive friend. I think what now in hindsight, way, way in hindsight, after I've lost her, I feel like she was the type of person who would meet you where you are and who would celebrate you and encourage you because she was just full of light, and vice versa. Would celebrate her, love her, through her new exercise, expeditions. It was a friendship that was made and crafted and sown with so much love. And so it is very fitting that the reason why I'm back here again is because that love of hers has to go somewhere. This grief that I'm feeling has to go somewhere. And I hope that this time around, when things, inshallah, eventually gets better, I can still have her words in my heart saying, just record where you are, record how you feel currently. It doesn't have to be only when you are sad or when you're grieving. You can also record when you're happy and life is looking a little bit brighter. And so that is the start of this new podcast. I will actually, I'm not sure if I've already inserted the clip. If I haven't, I'll do it so now. Return of the Mac, come on, return of the Mac, baby, return, jump on the hi. Oh my gosh, guys, hello, fuck, hi. It's so weird to be speaking on a mic again. It's been so long. First of all, I'm so sorry. Like, as some of you may have heard on my little teaser voice note, it's like life happened. Life happened to such an extremity. There was even internal talks with myself that I had, that I'm like, okay, that podcast was just a phase, and I said what I needed to say. But it's always it's so strange. Like, life happens and you pause and you do other things, or you neglect the things that you really love and enjoy, but then those things always creep up on you. Like, I guess it's the memory of it not being completed, like, especially if you know how much you want to do with it, and if you don't fulfill that if you don't fulfill what you wanted to do with the platform, it'll haunt you. It'll be one of those regrets, like, fuck, what happened? What would have happened if I just continued? Where would I be? What would I have said? Like, so that the unknown, the aching unknown haunts you, that even if it's a year and a half later, which is, it's literally what it is now, you will go back to it and you're like, I need to answer this call. I need to continue. I need to carry on. So this is the return. This is the resurrection of my podcast. And thank you to everyone who's reached out to me, strangers from all over, friends from all over, who's like, hey, I listened to your podcast while I was working, or I use your podcast to soothe me. And I'm like, oh my God. That is wild that this baby of mine can soothe you. Like, tears fall down from my eyes. I'm so happy. And yeah, so this is basically a catch up. I'm not reading or speaking about a specific experience of mine. It's just a catch up on how life has been, how life happened, and how I'm slowly but surely returning back to myself and returning back to the things that make me happy. So a lot of shit has happened since last year. COVID already is a shapeshifter. It's a mind boggler. How we are still walking and talking and engaging and wanting to create connections with people after experiencing such a traumatic experience of loss, and having to readjust and redo and reshape and just it's fucking amazing, and I'm glad you guys survived the pandemic. I know I'm speaking about it in the past tense as if it's over and you're like, okay, see you next quarter, COVID. No, like, it's still around, but I think it's a bit more bearable now. A lot of the restrictions that we had in the past couple of months/years have eased, and I feel like people are just saying, fuck it, we need to live. And that is such a beautiful theme for 2020. The whole fuck it, we need to live. We need to live. We can't just survive anymore. It's such a beautiful notion, because it's really like balls to the wall. We freaked out, but now we need to continue living, because life doesn't stop. Life doesn't stop, and in some moments you need to pause and breathe before you move. I feel like we've paused and breathed and created new habits, created new hobbies, and became better, different versions of ourselves. Now we need to live. Now we need to live and experience and engage with life, which is where we are at the moment. So, the root of this podcast initially, I actually just had a conversation with a friend of mine not so long ago about this, and just like, okay, what was the idea? How did you, like, why a podcast? And obviously, when I started, it was a very raw market. I was like, let me just insert myself. And actually, it's not even that. It's like I had words to share, which I initially wanted to share it via a book, with my different experiences of like how life has taught me and like how I've grown from those experiences. So that's where it started. And podcasting, because I like the way sound is translated, because sound is a different medium. Hey, it's like that's why radio is still big here in SA. Like sound is such a powerful medium. You see it with music. It's just it translates in such a beautiful way, and you can express it in whichever manner you want. So I wanted to do that with this podcast, expressing these different experiences that I've experienced in my life, and hopefully someone else might learn from them and someone else might add to them and engage with them, and we can have a dialogue. So that was the heart, or the yeah, that was the real reason behind creating this podcast, was to share my experience as a young Afro millennial. I don't know if I'm millennial or Gen Z. I'm a 96, turning 26. Am I a millennial? Am I Gen Z? I feel like we're in the middle. You're like, we know enough of the old to appreciate the new, but we also appreciate the new. So I don't know. It's weird. Um, but yeah, like that's the crux of it. It's sharing of experience and growing together. Okay, so that kind of makes, or if I inserted the clip now or earlier on, um, it may the premise of whatever I want to create has always been the same. Yes, the costume changes, the name changes, the low key purpose changes, or at least the execution changes, but the insight and the I don't know. I'm sounding like a grade advertising person. Sorry, it just comes out. Um, the crux, or at least the purpose, for real, the purpose of the things that I create are always the same, are always to bring community, are always to share, are always to bridge the gap, babe. It's always to bridge the gap. And so this time around, the way that this purpose has manifested itself is through a secret thing that I do with myself. I've done it since I was 16 years old. It has helped me in several ways, and it's been instrumental in my being today. A lot of people actually don't know that I do this. I think my ex partner at the time, he knew that I did it, but he never knew like how long I've been doing it, the depth of why I do it, and why I still keep doing it till this day. And that is writing letters to my future self. So I started this when I was 16, fresh into high school. I was like in grade 10. High school was tumultuous, to say the least. My high school experience was really tough. I till this day say to myself that the stuff that I experienced in high school, no child should experience, I feel. I mean, I guess I grew from it. It makes for great content when I am writing from source. But yeah, did not have to do that. It was a time where I felt extremely alone, and I felt like I had to save myself in some way. And so I started writing letters to my future self as advice of whatever I'm going through. Let the future version of myself at least appreciate what I went through, or at least learn from what I'm going through. And so every time I'd write myself letters, which was sporadic, it was extremely sporadic. It wasn't it wasn't a complete routine where once a week for 30 weeks I started this thing and so it stuck. No, it's not one of those morning pages type of things to release your inhibitions and creativity. No, it was quite literally a way to save myself. When I felt like I needed a lifeline, I gave my future self a lifeline because I thought that I might need it again, or I gave my past self a lifeline to say that I've always been here. And so these letters, who I direct to my future self, which is called Fumi, dear Fumi, and then I would write whatever is going on. Sometimes it's words of encouragement, sometimes it's words of despair, sometimes it's words of confusion, but every single time. I mean, I don't know if it's every single time, but most of the time where I address these letters to Fumi, I don't know, I feel lighter. I feel extremely lighter. And a couple of days ago, I was feeling extremely heavy, extremely heavy. Grief has got me in a chokehold. I started missing my friend again. I started remembering that, oh my gosh, this person that I know and love and I get to see every time I come home is actually not here anymore permanently. What the fuck? And so I was spiraling. I hated being here. Just quick life update. I moved away from home. I now live in another country in the UAE. And so I don't come home as often, but I do come home like frequently. I come home like, I would say twice a year minimum. And so I've been here for like 2 years. And so as much as I'm trying to build a community, I have a community with friends at work who are becoming like friends outside of work. It's still a very lonely experience, relocating, not knowing anyone when you relocate and kind of starting from scratch, basically. And so, a couple of days ago, grief had gripped me. I had no hopeful words for my future self. And I was just saying, life sucks for me. Life is absolutely trash. I don't know if I will see the light right now. I didn't even have that positive outlook at the end of the page, because I normally do feel like that. I would start off like feeling however I feel, but it would always somehow end up, hopeful. Yeah, hopeful. And I had no hope. And I was like, this is scary. I cried. Oh, I cried. And then I read another letter, because I've got a little box of letters. I read another letter and I had a torn page in this letter, or at least it's in a book. Had a torn page, and on this torn page it says, go to page 86 of the creative act book that you have. That is my message to you. And this was a message from Fumi that I wrote to myself like years, like months ago. And I'm like halfway crying, and I'm like, my nose is blocked. I opened the creative act book, go to page 86, and lo and behold, there is another letter right there. I mean, the chapter that I'd put it in was called Distraction, and how it was, fuck, God is so divine, let me just say. The chapter itself was about distraction, and the purpose of it was how you need to step away from your work to get closer to it as a creative. So leaving the problem to solve itself, to perk itself in your mind, while you take a walk, while you do something else, and then return to it with, and I guess the answer will come to you, or you'll return to it with a different mindset because you have kind of distracted yourself from it. Not really fitting with the situation I was in, because I was quite literally sad, but days before, I'd tried to get myself out of feeling this grief through walking. And as much as when I was doing it, it felt very like, it felt like, let's just go get this joy then. It was not natural, but at the end of the walk, I actually did feel quite better. I hate it when that happens. Like, okay, the thing that I know works for me worked for me. Lovely. And so when I looked at the letter, though, the half page that I tore this letter from, it speaks about love. It speaks about there isn't it was something that I heard on TikTok from a guru saying they don't like the concept of self-love because it kind of brings a divide between self and love, whereas self is love. So you don't have to differentiate it. You are love constantly. And my gosh, guys, I swear, although when I was writing in that entry, that letter that I was writing to Fumi was filled with so much despair and hurt, and I was like, wow, I actually have nothing left. I have nothing left to offer these pages but my grief. My past self, lo and behold, the Fumi did what she always does, and she's like, it's okay. It's okay. You are love. This is love. This is a process. And so through that, I'm like, this shit works. This shit works. And it's so funny. Like years later, after I started Fumi and writing to Fumi, I saw a concept float around the internet. I mean, I know it's not a fucking innovation. Writing letters to your future self is not it's not a new concept. People have done it many times. They do time capsules, all of those things. But yeah, I saw a concept floating around on the internet called Dear Future Me, which is like Fumi, but like, Fumi's full name. And it was a website where you can write a letter to your future self and then make it. Ooh, sorry. Listen. And then make it a time capsule by locking it away for 5 years, and then the company that does this will send that, or I guess the automated thing will send a letter back to you in 5 years. Same concept, but for me, my letters are more frequent. Like they're more monthly, quarterly, yearly versus in 5 years time. But it was so fascinating to see that, guys, this concept actually really works. And it's only worked for me because it was a tool to save myself, and it is now a tool to reassure myself. Like, hey man, whenever I open a page, whenever I get to read a letter from Fumi in whatever present self I'm in, whether it's Fumi from 6 years ago, Fumi from 2 months ago, Fumi from whenever ago. Now, when it reaches me when I need it, it's always, without a doubt. And I thought when I wrote a letter to Fumi a couple of days ago, this would be the first time where I feel helpless and I actually don't feel helped at all. Like I just feel like life sucks. And even in that moment of complete despair, Fumi pulls through and gives me a letter from another time through a book that I didn't even remember. And so every single time that I wrote this letter, that I write these letters, it helps a version of me somewhere in this timeline. It, oh gosh, dare I say, it really does save me each time. And so I want to share that magic with you. I want to share the magic of these letters. In each episode, I'll read a letter and I'll speak on it. I mean, most of the times, I don't even remember what was troubling me or what was enlightening me or whatever was happening in that present moment, because I don't really name the moments by name, because I know that it's going to be one of those things where I won't need to know what it was, because life would have done its thing and just continue. And so the letters are not always about a specific event or a specific thing. If I do make it specific, it would be because it was a very significant moment. Whether I named it or not, I would still remember it based on the letter and based on the time and based on whatever is in the letter. And so, yeah, I'm gonna read a episode talking about the letter and maybe what Fumi does to me, Fumi can do to you, and whenever this reaches you, however it reaches you, in whatever point you are in your life, I hope this message it touches you, and just like it saves me, it saves you a little bit. So yeah, let me take the one that says Fumi. That says actual Fumi. Okay. Okay, so this one is titled Fumi. Oh yeah, also another thing, so that I know that growth happens, in this timeline. I always date my letters. I always date my letters. It's not just letters into the abyss. It's like I make a notch in the hands of time. I want to say, oh my gosh, this was 6 years ago. Oh my gosh, this was 2 months ago. Oh my gosh, what a different person she was 3 minutes ago, you know? So I have to date them. And so even when I do these recordings, I am going to date the letter I'm reading. Or I'm going to tell you that when I wrote this letter and where I am currently. Okay, so this one is just for me. I hope there's never a time when I don't believe the words I write. My letters to fool me. That version of myself always exists. No matter how far I grow, I will always root for me, even from the past. And it's not delusional. You will find clarity and peace and accomplish all your heart's desires. I just have to believe in it. And that's the end of that letter. This was 24th of April, 2022. And okay, also guys, when I write these letters, the tense changes. And it's something that I struggle with, or at least that I am aware of. Sometimes I'll be like, do I direct this to me, or do I direct this as if Fumi is talking to me? So do I just make it like I, or do I make it like Fumi speaking to me, like you? So within this letter, it does it's not tense. What is it? The third person changes. And so here, I'll actually just read it again in case you missed it. And I'll read it properly because in my head I was just correcting the first or third person perspective, but now I'm just going to read it as is. I hope there's never a time when I don't believe the words I write. The letters to fool me. That version of myself always exists. No matter how far I grow, I will always root for me, even from the past. And it's not delusional. You will find clarity and peace and accomplish all your heart's desires. You just have to believe it. I think I just read it the same way. Anyway, 24th of April. I have no idea what I was going through. I have no idea why I decided to write a letter to Fumi saying that I am grateful for this romance we have. I have this beautiful romance between a pen and paper. And so this is also why I decided to write this, to share that romance, to share that joy. And I guess, yeah, what I can take from this letter today, which is very fitting because this is the day I've decided to record this episode, is I will always root for myself, even from the past, and I will find peace and clarity and accomplish all my heart's desires. And to you out there, you will find clarity and peace and accomplish all your heart's desires. You just have to believe in it. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thanks for listening, guys. It's been a pleasure. I'm so glad I'm back here. I think, actually, before I log out, there's this. I have really, really amazing friends. That's why the loss of this friend has hit me where it hurts most, because the people that have stayed in my life are always, almost always, kind of miracles, walking miracles in their own way. And so my friend had posted a photo dump, and let me just get it. She had posted a photo dump, and the way that she writes is so beautiful. It's so, I love the way that she writes. Her name is Nefeli Bata on Instagram. Cindy in my life, obviously. Sinzozo, actually, that's who she is in my life. So she posted this photo dump of all the pictures she took on film. And it's just so beautiful how she kind of contextualized why she takes pictures on film, or at least why she's been enjoying taking pictures of film. So I'll just read her caption and leave that with you and kind of reflect on it a little bit as well, because it made me think about even how I got to this point of holding this mic and speaking to you at now 8:17 in the morning before I go to work. And her caption goes, Don't you just love the imperfections of film? I was looking back at some of the roles I've developed since December, and I've really enjoyed carrying a disposable camera everywhere. There's something so grounding about film compared to phone pictures or anything digital, really. It never feels like it captures the moment as purely. When you see the image on a screen and control the outcome, it's easy to get caught up in perfection. But with film, when the moment has passed and you finally develop the role, there's something magical about accepting whatever came out. Oh, my friend is so good. It's like leaving it up to the gods, trusting the memory to be frozen in time, however it was meant to be. Through these roles, I've captured so many beautiful moments, from spending time with family across borders to her kid's name, starting school, and making new friends. It's a glimpse of what life feels like for us as a family living in Cape Town. One day, we'll look back at these photos and see the joy, the love, and the magic of these moments exactly as they were. Oh, thank you to all our friends and family for being a part of this magic. I literally want to cry if I look at these for too long. Oh my gosh, help. So she is like, that was such a beautiful way to summarize why film matters to her. And the thing that really like stuck with me from what she wrote is with film, no. Okay, so she says there's something so grounding about film compared to phone pictures or anything digital, really. It never feels like it captures the moment as purely. When you can see the image on a screen and control the outcome, it's easy to get caught up in perfection. Oh, that for me stuck with me because even before I started recording, I was like, I do a video recording, like, because all the podcasts that are out now are like basically vlogs. They're like video logs that have a podcast element, and people tune in more because they can actually see the person talking. Whereas right now, I am not in the stage to like set up a camera, set up lights, roll out the mic, make it perfect, etc., etc. And so, with obviously, if you have control of what you're creating and you can see what you're creating, and with me, when I edit this, I can hear what I've created, it's going to be so easy for me to kind of craft or edit and try to remove all the imperfections and blemishes and stuff from this episode. Um, but with film, you just capture it and then you let God and chemistry do its thing. Like let it develop the way it was meant to be developed. You have no way to control how it comes out. And that's how I feel about this now. I had no plan. I knew that I wanted to speak on my friend. I knew that she's the one who's yet again driven me to create, even though it's through very, very, very unfortunate circumstances. I wanted to speak on her. I wanted to honor her. I wanted to thank her. I wanted to put this grief somewhere, and I've decided to put it in a podcast. I wanted to speak about Fumi because wow, it is quite unbelievable the kind of work that Fumi has done in my life, the purpose of Fumi, how I use Fumi, and I wanted to share that with you. Maybe you on the other side of the world, on the other side of this screen, it can touch you as much as it touches me. Although my first letter was to Fumi, and about Fumi itself, it gets very the the subject matter always changes, but the purpose remains the same. Also, didn't know that I was going to touch on why I started creating, why I'm still here, and although I last picked up the mic 2 years ago when I was literally turning 26. I was 25 years old. Now I'm 28, on my way to 29 in a couple of months. Again, more than a couple, in like next year. it's I have no plan. I have no control over what this outcome is. I just had the need to create it and capture it as authentically as it feels, and then share it. That's about it. I'll put a cover art. Maybe I'll do a little intro. Welcome to my podcast. Whatever the name is, whatever the name will be, if I decide to not continue with it and start it again later on in life, whatever it is, just know it's real. Just know it's like quite literally live.com. It's quite literally where I'm at in my life right now, and I pray. And as I said, I'll always have Kelsey's words in mind of Just create happy stuff then. If you feel happy, girl, you don't have to stop creating because your feelings have changed. I know my feelings will change over time with this podcast, with my creation, all of these things, but I want to sustain it because I've seen what it does when you pour your heart out in a real way. In a real way, not to get numbers, not to get cash, not to be perceived in a certain way, just to release. Yeah, friends, thank you so much for joining me on this episode. I hope that you join me in the next one when I open another letter from Fumi, talk about it, talk about life, and yeah, explore this thing called 20 somethings, explore this thing called loneliness, explore this thing called grief, explore this thing called happiness eventually, hopefully. So yeah, see you on the next one. Bye.